channel Dentistry to the Point. If you are seeing this face for the very first time, hi, I'm dentist Saloni Jain and we make videos related to dentistry on our channel. In this video, we are going to deal with environmental enamel hypoplasia. Now, as the name itself suggests, enamel hypoplasia, the word hypoplasia is for any kind of underdevelopment or incomplete development of a tissue or an organ. Okay, so here it is relating to enamel. So there is an incomplete development of enamel or a defective development of enamel. So the definition also goes as incomplete or defective formation of the enamel of the teeth is known as enamel hypoplasia. Now this enamel hypoplasia is of two types. First is the hereditary form. Now the hereditary form is nothing but your amelogenesis imperfecta, the other name for which is hereditary enamel hypoplasia, which we have already dealt in a separate video, for which the link I'll give down in the description box and also pop an I button. So I would highly request you check that video first and then you come to this so that you get a better understanding of the topic. And second type is obviously your environmental type, which we're going to discuss in this video. So, in the environmental type of enamel hypoplasia, either of the dentition may be your primary or the permanent dentition, both are involved, or even sometimes a single tooth is involved. You later know when. Both enamel and dentine are affected. Actually, when you will go and see the amelogenesis imperfecta or the hereditary enamel hypoplasia, then you will get to know that only the enamel was affected, but irrespective of that, here also dentine to some extent, to some degree, dentine is also affected. Now talking about the etiology, as you say, or it is said that the ameloblast, that is the enamel forming cells, are actually a very sensitive kind of cell and they are prone to injury or they are prone to damage. Okay, so because of that there are various factors which are capable of producing injury to ameloblast, or you can say the etiological factors which cause environmental enamel hypoplasia. So there are several factors, like namely 8 factors, and we are going to deal each of these factors in detail, wherein we will see the why this is responsible for causing environmental enamel hypoplasia and also the characteristic features or the clinical features it gives to the teeth, or the appearance it gives to the teeth. Okay. So I have devised out a small, silly, lame trick, you can say, to learn all these features. Now what you have to imagine here is that, for example, enamel hypoplasia is a small child. You have to think that enamel hypoplasia ek bachcha hai. It's a small child, okay? It's newly born child, you may say. So it's a bachcha, you say. Yeah, it's an infant, okay? So it's born. So the story is going to start with birth. So there is birth, and at the time of birth there can be any injury also. If there is a prematurity, like birth se related kya ho sakta hai, there could be any birth injury, there could be premature birth or prematurity, there could also be the hemolytic diseases, that is the RH incompatibility, okay, the erythroblastosis fetalis, which you have read somewhere. So that is to be remembered along with birth. Okay, now the baby is born. Okay, now when the baby is born, he or she is very weak. Okay, the baby itself is very weak. So obviously weak matlab nutritional deficiencies, vitamin A, C and D. Also he or she is weak, so it has hypocalcemia, that is the calcium levels are down. Okay, then it is also prone, since the baby is weak, so it's prone to exanthematous diseases like your chicken pox, measles or scarlet fever, or maybe either congenital syphilis. Okay, so what the story goes is, first the baby is born, so the baby may be either having a birth injury or RH incompatibility or hemolytic disease or prematurity. Then the baby, now since the babies are nutritionally deficient, they do not have that strong immunity and everything, so nutritional deficiency and hypocalcemia may be present. Also they are prone to diseases, so exanthematous diseases like chicken pox, measles and scarlet fever, and even congenital disease, congenital syphilis. Also they are prone to any kind of local infections or trauma. Also now you know these babies, when they grow a little, they start eating, like you have seen babies eating soil, or they eat that everything. So they ingestion of the chemicals. So you relate with that, okay? So babies, when they are small, they crawl and they eat their soil, they eat mitti, that is they eat mitti, or either they eat sometimes worms also, कीड़े वीड़े चलते रहते हैं. So here that is ingestion of the chemicals. Those worms and soils are treated as chemicals here. that is your fluoride chiefly, and idiopathic causes, that is varied unknown causes. The babies are prone to varied unknown causes, varied types of injuries, unknown causes. Okay, so this way you can learn. This is a silly lame trick which I used to remember the etiology, because there are 8 points and all are important, equally important to remember. So that's why I learned them by this trick. Okay, like baby and everything, and I connect. Also, a point to be remembered is that hypoplasia results only if the injury occurs during the time the teeth are developing, that is the enamel is developing majorly, that is the formative stage of enamel formation. Once the enamel is calcified, no such defect can be produced. Okay, so this is very clear that when the enamel is mineralized or calcified, after that no such defect of the enamel, no enamel hypoplasia can occur. It only occurs in the formative stages of enamel formation. There only या तो मैट्रिक्स में प्रॉब्लम आएगी या अमीलोब्लास्ट में प्रॉब्लम आएगी, बट देयर उधर ही उस टाइम ही डिफेक्ट होगा. ओके, नाउ बिफोर डीलिंग विद द इंडिविजुअल etiological factors, we'll see a thing which is common to most of the etiological factors. Okay, like not all, but yeah, in few etiological factors, when you study the reason why this is responsible and the clinical appearance of the enamel because of this, so common one is these, that if there is mild enamel hypoplasia, so there are going to be presence of few small grooves, pits and fissures on the enamel surface. For every type I'm going to pop an image so that you are clear with the appearance, with a definitive or a common clinical picture. Okay, so if it is in its mild form, so there are going to be small grooves or pits or fissures on the enamel surface. If it is more severe or a moderate form, you can say, then the enamel may exhibit rows of deep pits arranged horizontally across the surface of the tooth, and there may be only a single row of such pits or several rows. Okay, again I'll pop up an image from which it will be clear what this means. And most severe cases will show considerable portion of enamel may be absent, suggesting a prolonged disturbance in the function of the ameloblast. So वो enamel का layer ही chip off हो जाएगा एक तरह से. So these are the mild, moderate and severe forms of environmental enamel hypoplasia. Basic, you can say, clinical feature. Now we'll see the etiological factors one by one individually. The 8 factors which we have discussed, we'll see them one by one. Now the individual etiological factors, the first and second ones, that is your hypoplasia due to nutritional deficiencies and exanthematous diseases. Exanthematous diseases means nothing but the skin rash producing diseases or the skin rash diseases which produce fever. So these are known as exanthematous diseases. So as we have read, hypoplasia due to nutritional deficiencies. Now nutritional deficiencies could be because of vitamin A, C deficiency, vitamin D deficiency, that is rickets. So now this is all like a, you can say a study based thing, that is some investigators and some researchers said that rickets at the time of tooth development could lead to this type of enamel hypoplasia, or vitamin A and C deficiency could also lead chickenpox, measles and scarlet fever, that is your exanthematous diseases could lead. Now they said this, okay, and various researchers, they stated such things, but they could not confirm the findings. So there is not a strong beholding behind these findings. They just stated that these could be the reasons, but they could not give an accurate or an appropriate reason to so as to why these are the causes. What they said is that final statement which was given was, which I mentioned earlier also, that ameloblasts are one of the most sensitive cells in the body. So serious nutritional deficiencies and systemic illnesses, they are potentially capable of producing enamel hypoplasia. Okay, so since these are the sensitive cells in the body, so such kind of things can produce enamel hypoplasia based on this. Okay, and now when enamel hypoplasia is produced because of such reasons, that is your nutritional deficiencies or exanthematous diseases, so the clinical features are that the hypoplasia occurring in the teeth are going to be of pitting variety. Pitting variety, as we have discussed, that the mild form, we saw now that various pits, fissures are going to be present in the teeth. So it's going to be of the pitting variety, and the pits are going to stain, giving it an unsightly appearance. Also involves those teeth which are formed within the first year after birth. Okay, and those, which teeth are those? These are your central incisors, lateral incisors, canines and first molars. Also, since the tip of the canines begin formation before the lateral incisors, So sometimes we exclude the lateral incisors and only the centrals, the canines and the first molars are formed. And rarely are the premolars, and the second molars are involved, okay, because they appear later in the life after 3 years and etc. So these are the most commonly involved tooth, and how they are, the clinical manifestation, how they look is nothing but the pitting variety, that is the mild form we have discussed. That is nothing but the presence of pits and fissures in the tooth and giving them a staining appearance or a brown appearance and unsighted. Here is enamel hypoplasia due to congenital syphilis. Now syphilis is a very separate topic to be dealt in bacterial infections, and there all points will be much more clear because we will deal syphilis in detail. But here what you have to see is that when there is enamel hypoplasia due to congenital syphilis, so the appearance of the tooth or the enamel appearance has a characteristic appearance or a pathognomonic appearance, okay. There is not that pitting as we have seen in the earlier clinical feature due to that infection and your systemic illnesses and nutritional deficiencies. There is no such pitting here. It has a very characteristic appearance, okay. And what is that characteristic appearance is that in anterior teeth it is called Hutchinson's teeth, and in the molars it is known as mulberry molars, because the characteristic appearance more commonly involves your maxillary mandibular permanent incisors and first molars, okay. So when it involves your incisors, the characteristic appearance is an Hutchinson's teeth or known as an Hutchinson's teeth, and when it involves your molars, the characteristic appearance is known as mulberry molars. Now what is seen actually in Hutchinson's teeth is that they appear screwdriver shaped. The central incisors usually they appear as screwdrivers in shape. The mesial and the distal surfaces of the crown they taper or converge towards the incisal edges rather than towards the cervical margin. Now in a tooth, in a central incisors, as you have seen, in normally occurring central incisors, the mesial and the distal margin they converge in the cervical portion, but here they taper or converge in the incisal portion. The incisal edge is usually notched. Also the incisal edges are usually notched. Why they are notched? Because of the absence of calcification center in the middle. So the notching is seen in the middle, and why this notching is seen or why this converging is seen? Why? Because there is absence of calcification centers, okay. Also in the molars, which are known as mulberry molars, also known as Moon's molar or Fournier's molars. Why they are called as mulberry molars? Because they are irregularly shaped crowns. Like what is seen in this is irregularly shaped crown is seen. Enamel of the occlusal surface and the occlusal thirds of the tooth appears to be arranged in an agglomerate mass of globules. Agglomeration is nothing but collection, okay. Collection or putting together, okay. So collection of a mass of globules rather than well formed cusp. Now you have seen a normal molar, it has defined cusps, but in mulberry molar it is nothing. As you've seen mulberry, no, there are small that. So here also there is small globules formed, that is agglomeration or a collection of small, no well defined cusp. Small masses are combined, and the crown is narrower at the occlusal surface than at the cervical margin. So the crown, which has to be narrower at the cervical margin, normally it is narrower. We have seen a cervical convergence in normally molars, but here it is narrower at the occlusal surface than at the cervical margins. So these are the characteristic appearances of enamel hypoplasia due to congenital syphilis. Moving on to the next etiological factor, that is nothing but enamel hypoplasia due to hypocalcemia. Now the example of hypocalcemia is tetany, a condition where the serum calcium levels may fall as low as 6 to 8 mg per 100 ml. So tetany is a condition where there is hypocalcemia, that is decreased calcium levels in the serum. So at this level, that when the level falls so below or when there is a condition of hypocalcemia, so there is enamel hypoplasia that is frequently produced. Okay, enamel hypoplasia is frequently produced in the developing teeth at that time. Okay. Also, the variety or the hypoplasia which occurs is of pitting variety, that is samely seen in the first and second, that is your nutritional deficiencies and the exanthematous diseases. Okay, तो जैसा उसमें आपको clinical appearance दिखेगी दांत की, that is the pitting type, same is seen in this. So this is no such, and also बहुत सारे कंक्लूजन्स और इस्टेब्लिश नहीं किए गए हैं इन्वेस्टिगेशंस और रिसर्चर्स ने, सो देयर इज नथिंग इन दिस पॉइंट. Then you have hypoplasia due to birth injuries. Okay, so they said is that there is a neonatal line. Okay, now this is a topic which we'll see, actually which you have seen in your first years. So neonatal line that is present usually in the deciduous teeth and the first permanent molar, and it may be thought that neonatal line actually is thought by some investigators or researchers as a type of hypoplasia, because this also results from a disturbance produced in the enamel and dentine, which is indicative of a trauma or change in environment during birth. Okay, so that's why this can be a neonatal line, can be a hypoplasia seen due to birth injuries. Okay, next is enamel hypoplasia due to a local infection or trauma. So firstly we'll see the clinical manifestation, and then I'll tell you कि ये कैसे हो सकता है, like how there is a local injury or trauma. So occasionally it is occasionally seen, and it is an unusual type because it only involves a single tooth. Okay, the most commonly involved teeth are your permanent maxillary incisors or maxillary mandibular premolars. इनमें से कोई एक दांत होगा. Hypoplasia can be ranging from mild brownish discoloration of the enamel to a severe pitting and irregularity of the tooth crown. Okay, so it can range from slight discoloration to an irregularity in the crown. These single teeth are frequently referred as Turner's teeth. Okay, now this is a very important MCQ question, that these single teeth, enamel hypoplasia due to local infection or trauma, makes or causes Turner's teeth or Turner's hypoplasia. So these involvement of single teeth that is caused because of the enamel hypoplasia due to local infection or trauma are known as Turner's teeth, and the condition is known as Turner's hypoplasia. Okay, continuing with enamel hypoplasia due to local infection or trauma. So earlier we dealt with the clinical features, that is the Turner's tooth and the Turner's hypoplasia. But like what kind of local infection or trauma can lead to enamel hypoplasia? So talking about local infection, if there is a deciduous tooth that becomes carious during the period in which there is growth of the permanent teeth, okay, so the periapical infection of the deciduous teeth is going to affect the ameloblastic layer of the upcoming or the preceding or the succeeding tooth bud. Okay, that is the permanent tooth. So if it is carious, the deciduous tooth is carious, so the periapical infection is going to affect the ameloblastic layer of your succeeding tooth and is going to cause its hypoplasia. And this hypoplasia is obviously going to depend upon the severity of the infection or the tissue organ, the part of the tissue that is involved. Okay. Similarly, talking about the trauma, so trauma to a deciduous tooth, especially when it is driven into the alveolus, that is if a trauma is caused to a deciduous tooth and it is sulked into that socket or alveolus beneath which there is a permanent tooth bud. So because of this trauma or drivenness into the sulcus of the alveolus is going to disturb the ameloblastic layer of again your permanent tooth bud, and when following its eruption, this tooth is going to definitely have enamel hypoplasia either in the form of yellowish discoloration or a brownish discoloration or either pitting. Next is enamel hypoplasia due to fluoride, known as mottled enamel. Okay, so when there is enamel hypoplasia, like as we have dealt earlier, that when there is enamel hypoplasia due to local infection or trauma, it is known as Turner's hypoplasia or Turner's tooth. Similarly, when there is enamel hypoplasia due to fluoride, so the appearance is known as mottled enamel appearance. Okay, now it was first described by G.V. Black and Frederick S. Macau, and they suggested that the lesions exhibited a geographic location that is pertaining to a specific area, and also they suggested that it is a result of some substance in the water supply. They were not actually able to find out the substance was fluoride. It was later found out, but these two things were suggested according to them. Okay, so the etiology is that fluoride, how this fluoride causes mottling of the enamel or hypoplasia of the teeth is that it causes disturbance of the ameloblasts during the formative stage of the tooth development. So it hinders with the function of the ameloblast definitely. Also, higher levels of fluoride interferes with the calcification of enamel matrix. Okay, so enamels causes disturbance of the ameloblasts also, and also if they are in higher in number, so there is going to be disturbance with the calcification of enamel matrix. Severity of the mottling increases with increasing amount of fluoride in water. जितना ज़्यादा fluoride ज़्यादा होगा water में, उतना ज़्यादा mottling you are going to see, or enamel hypoplasia you are going to see of the teeth. Okay. There is mild to little mottling below the level of 0.9 to 1 parts per million of the fluoride in water, and it becomes progressively evident above this level. Definitely, jitna less fluoride, utna less mottling. More the number of more the higher concentration of fluoride in water, more the mottling is going to be seen. So let's see it with the clinical features of mottled enamel. Clinical features of enamel hypoplasia due to fluoride, that is mottled enamel. Now, the meaning of mottled word is nothing but appearance of spots actually, or smears of color. So the clinical features depends on the level of fluoride in the water supply, and there is a wide variety or wide range of severity in the appearance. For example, they are graded as 1, 2, 3, 4. Questionable, that is occasional white flecking or spotting of the enamels, occasional white spots दिखेंगे. Second is mild, that is white opaque areas involving more of the tooth surface. Now these are small spots, देखिए small spots दिखेंगे आपको, but second mild form में they involve larger areas. They are not spots actually, they involve a larger area. Third is moderate, that is pitting and brownish discoloration or staining of the surface. And fourth is severe, that is corroded appearance of the teeth, that is again a severe form. Okay, so these all appearances will be clear as I'll be popping diagrams, so you will get to know each and every type of the mottling scene. Okay, now these third and fourth, that is the moderate and the severe forms, they have a tendency to wear and even fracture of the enamel is seen in such cases. Obviously बात है, aggressive forms है, so wearing of the enamel and enamel fractures are common. And also earlier studies have stated that in moderate and severe forms there is difficulty for retaining of the restorations in the tooth. Okay, the restorations, they do not retain in these kind of teeth. Moving to the treatment options, so the treatment option is necessary because of cosmetic reasons, because that brown discoloration is an unsightly view, it does not look good. So bleaching is an option which is done usually with hydrogen peroxide. But then this procedure has to be done periodically because the staining continues to occur. Okay, so it has to be taken care and has to be dealt periodically also. Also, the last factor was enamel hypoplasia due to idiopathic causes. Now, idiopathic itself means unknown causes. So, as we have mentioned this again and again, that the ameloblasts, they are one of the most sensitive cells. Okay, so they are actually prone to hypoplasia, and the reason could be anything. Okay, any kind of systemic illness, nutritional deficiency, anything. So that's why it could be also because of these reasons, the 7 ones, or other than these reasons, maybe any kind of reasons. Okay, so this is all about environmental enamel hypoplasia. It is also a very important topic, and I would highly request you to also see the amelogenesis imperfecta, that is nothing but hereditary enamel hypoplasia, so that you get a better understanding of both the things, and if a long note question is asked, you are able to write both of these. I hope that you understood this video, and if you understood, then please like, share and subscribe to our channel. Also hit the little bell so that you are notified every time we upload a video. Thank you so much.